All right, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Whenever you hear this message, I pray that you are poised to receive, to accept, and to respond to words of wisdom. Ashe. So, um, a few days ago, maybe a week and some change ago, the Supreme Court dismantled affirmative action in higher education. And as soon as it happened, I started to see uh, a small trend on um, particularly the business related content creators, right? So I follow some business content creators. I guess what's that you're saying. I don't know if these guys are actually in business, but they create content, around business, entrepreneurship, etc. Right? And so there was a little trend. I won't say it was a major trend of a few of these guys who were apparently young white dudes, and they were going on about, in a kind of a celebratory way, about it being good that affirmative action was finally dismantled because, you know, these black folks are lazy freeloaders, right? Or they they like to hold on to their victim status so much that they don't want to work. They want everything to be given to them. Those weren't the exact words, but that was the sentiment. When I read the threads, right? Because that's one of the things that I love about social media, really. It's like people watching. I can go from content creator to content creator and I can just read the threads and I can get a sense of people's thought processes and their psychology, etc. But one of the things that I noticed in watching these, reading these threads, was the way in which these guys were um, different kinds of white cats, right? Some of them were immigrants, like first generation Polish or Russian or whatever. Some of them were, like some, maybe white and Mexican, right? Or white and Filipino, you know what I mean? Something like that, right? But they identify mostly as white, but then it's I want to say conveniently at their convenience, then they will emphasize being an immigrant. At their at their convenience, they will emphasize being, you know, mixed with, some other ethnic group, right? But essentially, they're identifying as white people. So these guys would make these statements based on their experience and their perception of who African Americans are and how we've gotten to be where we are today. Um, and I'll say without hesitation that those people have um, no right to speak on what African Americans are deserved in this country. I mean, of course, they're open to their opinion, but their opinion is useless. It has no currency. Uh, African Americans are not Mexicans. African Americans are not Irish. We're not Polish. We're not Jewish. We're not Italians. We're not any kind of immigrant. So all of those stories and whatever it is that you want to tell yourself about how you got in here across this border or Ellis Island or any of that, that's irrelevant, right? It's irrelevant. When it comes to the African American contribution, we don't beg for anything. Everything that we demand, we earned. And if you don't know history properly enough to understand the way in which we have earned everything plus, then that's why you're not part of the conversation, right? So if you want to get educated, you can ask questions and you can allow someone to educate you if they so desire. However, I'll just say categorically, if you're not African American, you're not in the conversation. Period. End of story. And I would urge all African Americans to take that stance. You don't have to educate these people. They don't know history properly. And it's not your job to teach it to them, right? It's your job to make sure that you and other African Americans know the history. And that's why I'm saying what I'm saying right now. Because in spite of the fact that these guys don't know A from Z, their criticisms contain grains of truth in the sense that Once we are, let's say, for example, once we have affirmative action, we have earned, this is not something that anybody's giving to us. We have earned it, we have fought for it, we have worked for it, number one. But once we have it, then it's up to us to use it in ways that make us autonomous and independent of the government or charity in any way, shape, or form. Right? That needs to be our objective. We are completely independent, and whatever else white folks in general or the state has to say is of marginal relevance to us, because we are solving our own problems, right? And so solving our own problems, however, requires that we hold ourselves accountable. And this is where the lesson is really essential, because we have within our community a pervasive addiction to victim mentality. We have a pervasive addiction to victim mentality. And people talk about the heroin epidemic, people talk about mass incarceration, people talk about any kind of addictive behavior or diseases that disproportionately afflict African Americans. I'm going to say that the victim mentality is arguably the greatest scourge of our present generation. It is a disease. This idea that you're a victim, 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 victim. Everything is you're a victim. And anytime someone challenges your victim status, you dig into your arsenal of more victim language to maintain this victim status. And this is true, right? They're shaming me. They're shaming us. Nobody's shaming you. That's just not appropriate. That's not what's supposed to be happening right now. That isn't what's going to get you to your desired destination. This isn't about shaming. This is just about correction and a reality of going from point A to point B. But when you're a victim, addiction kicks in, just like any addiction, you will do anything to keep it alive and protect it, right? And let me back up a little bit, because I do understand why some of us are so addicted to victimization, right? We think that accountability is the same as blame, right? Some of us have been brought up in an environment where people are just quick to blame, judge, and condemn. Blame, judge, condemn. And that's terrifying, because you could be making honest mistakes, right? And some of you, I can think about your childhood, that may be how you were brought up. Your parents, your neighbors, your teachers, they blamed, they judged, and they condemned. And you became synonymous with your mistakes. Your identity became, your mistakes. And so if that's your conditioning, it's also natural for you to have a fearful reaction to accountability. But accountability is about accountability, ownership, and improvement. Accountability is ownership. When you hold yourself accountable, then you can own it. You hold yourself accountable for what you think. You hold yourself accountable for how you feel. You hold yourself accountable for what you do. You say that, yes, those are the things that I thought. Those are the things that I felt. I chose to feel these things. I chose to say those things. I own the fact that I am the decision maker, and what is happening in my life is the result of my decision making. That's what's going to allow me to solve problems and improve. Entirely different from blame, judgment, and condemnation. See, people who do that, they don't want to solve problems. They just don't want to be blamed. And so sometimes you'll be in an environment, people just quick to, let's just blame him, blame him, blame him. You become a scapegoat. So I get it. I get it. We don't want to be the scapegoats, individually or collectively. We don't want to be the scapegoats. But you've got to, as a mature adult, slow it down. When people are criticizing, when people are correcting, when people are giving feedback, when you find yourself having this reaction, right? It's this fight or flight reaction, and you're losing it on the inside. You got to slow yourself down and say, you know what? The trouble is not right now. We're having a conversation. Is this person blaming me and condemning me and judging me? Or is this person holding me accountable, creating an opportunity for me to take ownership so that I can actually solve problems and improve? And you can ask clarifying questions. You can ask that question, as a matter of fact, if you're in doubt. Hey, is this about blame, or are we trying to solve a problem? Are you trying to condemn me? Are you trying to judge me? Or are we trying to improve upon the situation and create a desired outcome? Ask. Ask. And then when the person gives you the response, if they're saying, hey, no, I want to solve a problem. Okay, let's define that problem real quick. What problem are you trying to solve? Okay. But this has to be our commitment to ourselves. That even when our enemies are saying the right things for the wrong reasons, we need to be able to discern how we want to hold ourselves accountable, how we want to take ownership of our experience, how we want to solve our own problems and improve our own condition, personally and collectively. This is an important, vital message for the leaders. I am looking for the people who are ready, willing, and able to go about the business of improving life for themselves and for the people who they are destined to serve. If you're one of those people, I want you to find out how I, Obafemi Origuma, can help you live the medicine that will heal your life and heal the lives of those who you're destined to serve. Visit me at obafemio.com or orishalifestyle.com, and let's start doing what we need to do to help bring about the good condition for ourselves and for those who are destined to serve. I look forward to working with you. Bye for now. Odabo.